Hey everyone. Um, Hi. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I'm kind of new at all this, so the technical difficulties that I've had for the last couple days. Um, yeah, unexcusable, I know. So, let me tell you about what I want to do here. Um, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world today, right? I mean, a lot of really crazy stuff, and I've lived a pretty full life, done a lot of things, and I think there's a lot of stuff that needs to be talked about, and a lot of people unwilling to talk about it. Right? They're either too worried to be politically correct and tiptoe around um, the subjects, or they're too afraid to talk to people about it. First of all, I guess before we start all this, and people are like, who is this chick and why does she think she has the authority to even talk to us about this stuff? Let me tell you a little bit about me and my life story. And then we'll go from there. Um, and what I want to do is, like, I'm going to pick the subject today I want to kind of talk about. But then I want to hear from you guys, and I want to hear what you guys want to talk about from there. But I'm originally, or I was born in Boston, Massachusetts, but I kind of call myself the girl from nowhere and everywhere. Um, I was raised by a single mom with a single mama too. Um, I My parents divorced when I was a year old. My mom was pregnant for my sister at the time. Um, I've lived in, I don't know, 26 different states, I guess. My mom was kind of a gypsy. Um, Married 3 times. My first stepfather was not a very nice guy. But anyway, we always lived kind of like not in the very nice parts of town. When I spent the first of my primary years in Detroit, uh, kind of being the majority. The minority. I was the minority in the minority part of Detroit. And when we lived in California, we lived in the poorest part of California, which again kind of made me the minority in the minority part of California. And it was like that everywhere we lived, by the way. If anyone is wondering what my ethnic ethnicity is, I guess, is I'm Sicilian in English. But I always check other on a form. Why? Because there is no place on a form for Mediterranean. Some people are probably screaming white privilege at this point, but I'm going to tell you the truth. Anyone who has taken, by the way, I didn't even know what white privilege was until I was probably in my 20s, and in my 40s, and I was going to graduate school. I'm actually a 10th grade dropout. But I guess that's white privilege, right? Not knowing what it is. But I was never treated like that. If anything, I was probably discriminated more against in my life, but I didn't know that I was being discriminated against. I think that there should be a box for Mediterranean descent because people from Sicily and Portugal and Spain and that whole group, Greeks, that whole group of people were forced to check Caucasian when we are not Caucasian in any manner, shape, or form. And during the industrial era, this is just a little thing. There were posters made up of employers and how would they rate people, and they did measurements of facial features to see how big our brains were by our facial features, and that was how they gauged how intelligent we were. And Sicilians and Italians were really only one step above African Americans. If you don't, it's the truth, and if you don't believe me, I'll find it somewhere and show you guys later. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I don't know if anybody's actually listening to me right now, but if you do listen to me, and I hope people do start to listen to me, we can talk about that. So anyway, race, something I think needs to be talked about in this country. I was brought up, like I said, not seeing color. Why? Because number one, I was brought up in a very liberal Democratic family that was matriarchal. My grandmother was a war bride who came over during World War II, and she had 5 children of her own, and then she got divorced in the 50s, another taboo thing to do, and got remarried, and then they adopted. And when they adopted every creed, color, whatever. And that's what I grew up with. So my aunts and uncles, my mom's brothers, sisters, the family I grew up in, there was nothing. But anyway, but the fact of the matter is that there is a race problem in this country, and it needs to be spoken about because races have been treated unfairly. The other thing, and I think a different take that I have on things, is that I lived in Europe for a long time, and living there and living here after being away from the US for so long gives you such a different perspective on the United States and the way that we treat our citizens. And it's shameful. And not only that, you see the way Americans, when they go to Europe, treat Europeans in their own country, and it's shameful. I'm just throwing that out there. So, about me. So I was raised by a single mom, very little money. I have a history of abuse, so that's probably something we may want to talk about if people want to talk about stuff like that. Suicide is another huge issue in this country among our youth, among our veterans, among everybody. So hot topic, right? Drug addiction, another big problem. I come from a family of alcoholics. I did have a drug addiction as a teenager. I ran away as a teenager. I moved out of my parents' house when I was 16 years old. I had my oldest son when I was 15, and I moved out as soon as I could. And I never looked back. Never looked back. I've been on my own since I was 16 years old. But I did get a high school diploma, and I got married very young at 18. Had my second son at 19. And I've been married twice, 10 years both times. But when my second marriage failed, I joined the Army. And I thought I was in forever. That was my career. I loved it. And that didn't happen. I was in for a long time. I joined before the war, by the way. I joined in 97. And I think it's very sad that there's an entire generation of people out there, adults, who know nothing except terror, who know nothing except our country at war. And um, that's scary. But it's something else, you know. So anyway, um, when I was medically released in 2006, I saw a huge mental health care crisis for our combat veterans coming back. I had lost a lot of friends. I know a lot of people who have, and I had lost soldiers. I had lost everything, and I went back to grad school and I became a therapist. And uh, so now and I did the thing where I worked in a hospital and was bringing in $80,000 a year, and I realized that's not where my heart is. That's not why I chose to do what I do. So I now, um, and my health doesn't has deteriorated to the point where I can't work those hours anymore. So now I do only volunteer work. All my work is volunteer. I work my hours when I can, and I work nonprofits. I help start up and run either vet run nonprofits or nonprofits for children or anything that falls along the history or the spectrum that is important to me and runs my heart. And I also I'm I obviously do uh, um, therapy work as well. And I train therapy dogs. So I always have dogs around me because dogs are love. So that's kind of a rundown on me. I kind of have like, that's kind of my knowledge base. My politics, like I said, we're always very liberal Democrat. They kind of, they kind of, the puppies can be in here. They're fine. They always once I was in the military, some of my views kind of got a little bit more conservative. I'm not a conservative. I said they got a little more conservative, more over to the moderate. But I think that happens as you get older. And you have life experiences and you have children and things like that. I think you do get a little bit more moderate on some of your views if you're liberal. But on the big ticket items, I don't think you really change. Um, so why is my um, uh, stream blog, whatever, going to be called Coloring Outside the Lines? Because I don't like to color inside the lines. I don't like boxes. I don't like labels. I don't like anything like that. Some of the things I do want to hit on, and I'm hoping you guys will want to talk about these issues, and maybe you'll bring them up. The really big topic I want to talk about, because it's an epidemic in this country. It is killing our youth. It is a vicious circle that, if it continues, because I'm proof of it, and I started the circle over again with my own children, and it doesn't have a race, it doesn't color, creed, socioeconomic, nothing, and that is fatherless homes, fatherless homes. And I know that it is more prevalent in lower socioeconomic communities, which I was a part of. So I know. And statistics show that, statistics show that, of course. And I have crap loads of statistics to back that up. And it is staggering what is happening to our youth. And it just continues and continues and continues, except now it's turning deadly. Because when I was younger, it was fight, and I was a fighter. Or you carried a knife. That was the worst that happened. Now they're carrying guns, and our kids are killing our kids. You know, but fatherless homes. I have a feeling that's going to be maybe a two or three um, day topic. It depends on how hot people get on the subject. Um, I also want you to know that I'm going into every single one of these, no judgment. I have no judgment. I'm I may put my 2 cents in. I may debate, even if I don't agree with you. But I do not judge because everybody is allowed their opinion. I haven't I haven't walked a mile in your shoes, just like you haven't walked a mile in mine. What I don't agree with is unfair judgment of me, or anyone else in the forum. So I will not um, tolerate unfair treatment of others or something like that. Okay. So, another thing, if you read their description, it's basically that. Do you know those things that your mom said never bring up in polite conversation? What are I think there's 4 or 5 of them. Never bring up in polite conversation, or my mic says it's low, but it's not. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me okay? Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. Um so I have no problem. We'll talk about pro-choice. We'll talk about pro-life. Whatever your stance is. Capital punishment. Have no problem talking about that. Um we'll talk about religion, all kinds of religion. We'll talk about the absence of religion. We'll talk about any of that, especially as a vet, as a soldier. Faith, the absence of faith, the rediscovery of faith. Trust me, I've had a lot of those types of conversations with people. So, um, politics. That's kind of a hot button item right now, but okay. Just don't get on here and yell and say um, whatever. You know, if you my thing is hey, if you got a point to make and you have a solid argument for it, that's fine. I'll listen. Everybody else will listen. Whatever. Um, and I already covered this race relations. So I mean, I happen to be a huge music lover, right? Like I have a music catalog and a vinyl collection that would put pretty much anyone to shame of normal stature, unless you're like an actual like music star who can afford a ton of vinyl. I've been collecting for years and years and years, but I also have a huge eclectic taste. Just a tiny bit of country, but not much. But other than that, like, but I love hip hop. I love like because I come from the hip hop generation. I mean, I was there at the beginning. I'm an '80s baby, so I was there at the beginning of hip hop. Um, and uh, um, so I guess I'm trying to think. What was I trying to say? about my the music. Um, I lost my train of thought. I've been so caught up in this whole um, Eminem thing that's been going on for the week. Oh my gosh, it's just been crazy. But I'll talk music with you all day too. I mean, if you want to make music a topic for a day, I'll do that. I have no problem with that because I'm pretty much up on every type um, of music that's out there, old, new, anything. But I am not a reviewer, and because I think there's enough of them out there. And 9 times out of 10, when I watch reactions, I'm sitting there going, seriously? I mean, really? You really think that's what's going on there? So I don't watch it. I don't watch those. Um, oh, what do you guys think about children starving in the Western world? In your own country, we're sending billions of dollars of food to third world countries. And in New York City, I live in New York, by the way. In New York City, we have people having to donate food to give these children bags of food to send home with them on the weekend so that way they can eat, or feed them during the day so they can eat a breakfast at least or a lunch. So what do you think about our own children in our own country starving to death? What do you think about that? I mean, I'm not saying it. Obviously, it affects me and it upsets me a little bit, and I'm not saying it with like that much venomance to kind of get you guys to kind of like wake you up. I'm just saying, so I'm not saying it because that's my stance. I'm saying it with an urgency, so that way you guys can kind of get pumped up about it as a conversation piece. Some of you might be like, oh, well, maybe if their parents had a job and blah, blah, blah. By the way, just to kind of educate you guys on something, in this country, we have something called the working poor. We've had it since the 1800s. And the working poor are the people who make too much money to get social services or get any type of services like WIC or food stamps or whatever. So these are people who are too proud to get welfare. So they go out and they work, but they make too much money to get food stamps. So they can't feed their family. The working poor. Working poor. Just know that. Not everybody in this country is out to screw the system. Just know that. Okay. Veterans. What do you guys think about veterans and how veterans are being taken care of? Do you think they're being taken care of well? Do you not think they're being taken care of well? Do you respect the veterans? Do you blame the war on the veterans? I mean, just in general, how do you feel about the veterans? Do you think the veterans are like the Vietnam veterans? Do you not think they're anything like the Vietnam veterans? I mean, just in general, what's your general idea about it? And, which ties right into the war. What do you think about? And it's the wars now, because now it's Iraq, Afghanistan, and now we're sending our guys to Syria. So what do you guys think about that? Well, we're running on almost 25 minutes. And I wanted to start doing fatherless homes, but I'm not going to run any more than 25 minutes today because no one's here. But this will be on my channel. So hopefully I'm going to hit up some people and some people will watch it and get interested in it, and I'll have some people watch it. So watch it and we'll have some conversations. Okay? All right. You guys have a blessed day and take care of each other, all right? Because no one else is going to. Take care. Bye.